that they gave us here to start with are these formulas, which I gave you guys yesterday. You guys remember putting these in your notes? The cost of something is equivalent to how many you buy for each one, cost. Income you earn is how many hours you work times what you get per hour. And the values of something can be attributed to that formula there. And each of these is quite similar, actually, if you really look at it, and you can use it. You can use these all for different things, depending upon if you're looking for the cost of something, how much you're making on something, or perhaps the value of something. And we did these, several of these yesterday. So the example there is for you to look at later. I want to do that number 1 at the bottom. You guys can see right there, 40 students bought hats at the baseball game. The plain ones are $4 each. Deluxe is $6 each. If the total bill was $236, how many students purchased deluxe? So what we are looking for in the end is this piece of information right here, right? All right, what do we know about any of these blanks? So they've given us a value of D for deluxe. If we know there are 40 caps sold and the count of deluxe is D, I'm just gonna write that 40 right there for myself, then how many plain caps were sold in relationship to that? Other way around, 40 minus D. 40 minus D. The total minus deluxe will give us plain. Very good. Do we have costs? Fill them in. I think we do. Yep. Gosh, can you imagine paying $6 for a baseball hat? Did you guys go looking at Cubs caps after they won? They're like $30 for the nicer one. Are you crazy? I love my Cubbies, but goodness gracious. Now, the product of how many and the price will give us the cost. So what is 6 multiplied by D? Yeah. And $4 multiplied by 40 minus D. You can just rewrite it there. Those little question marks in the box bother me. Now, the total cost of deluxe added to plain equals what, folks? Right, but what does it equal? 236, good, the total, yeah. So 6D, and I'm just going to write it out. That look about right? Yeah. Jay was already working it. 6D plus 160 minus 4D. Simplify. How many D's do we have after we simplify the 6 and the negative 4? 2. So this is negative. That's positive, which is why the 6 is positive, the 4 is negative, makes it a 2. I'm running out of room, guys. I'm sorry. Thought I had enough. What is 236 minus 160? Since you all have calculators.
76.
What'd you say?
76.
So what must D be after you cut D, 2D? Is that after you cut that in half, what's D? 38? Okay. Is that the answer I'm seeking? Deluxe? Does D represent deluxe? So is that the answer I'm seeking? Yeah. If I asked for how many plain caps, could I tell them? How many?
2.
Yes, good, Jay. 40 minus 38. Good. All right. Number 2 is almost the exact same thing, guys. Except instead of purchasing baseball hats, we are purchasing tickets. And I know as you do these, you might have to cram your information elsewhere, but adult tickets cost $6 each. Student costs $3. Should we fill those in, fill that information in over here? Adult is 6. Bless you. Student is 3. Do we know a total number of tickets sold? What is it? So if they call student, student, then what must adult be? Same scenario as the caps. Total minus.
S minus 140.
Yep.
140 minus
1040 minus S. Good. Okay. The product of how many and the price will give us a cost. So in this slot we have 6 times 1040 minus S. And in this slot we have 3S, correct? I know I'm going to run out of room here. It's very jumbled tight together. Okay. So the cost of the adult tickets is 6 times 1040 minus S. That cost added to the cost of student tickets, which is 3 multiplied by S. The sum of those things has to equal the total dollar amount. Do we know what the total dollar amount is? By the way, I forgot to ask, what piece of information are we seeking? Yep. Student tickets. So specifically, once we have S, we have our answer. Because they're not asking for adult. They're just asking for student. We could tell them adult, but... So here we go. What is 6 times 1040? 6240 minus 6S plus 3S equals 5400. You might be looking at this saying, wait, we're going to have a negative S value. It's okay. You'll see why here in a minute. Combining a negative 6 with a positive 3, when it's two different signs, you find the difference, which is 3, and keep the sign of whichever one is normally larger. Normally 6 is larger, so its absolute value dictates that we keep that negative. Should look like that, right? So 5400 minus 6240. Throw it in your calculator. Tell me what you get.
840.
What'd you get, honey?
840.
Negative 840. Now when we divide, we're going to come up with a positive value. If you came up with a negative answer for how many tickets, you can't sell negative tickets. So 840 divided by 3. Is it 280? Which means how many student tickets were sold? If I asked you how many adult, what would you do to find that out? Yes. Good, good, good. Okay. Number 3 is the value scenario. So that would be the total value formula. So let's go on to number 3. A collection of 60 dimes and nickels is worth $4.80. How many dimes are there? So similar setup. It may seem different, but it really isn't. So the total number of coins is what? 60, did they say? So if they tell us D represents dimes, then what's nickels? 60 minus D. Good. Total minus the one they gave us. They told us to use 480 cents as our value for that total amount, which means we're going to be able to use whole numbers for the values of our coins as well. Nickels are 5, dimes are 10, with a grand total of 480. So can you multiply D times 10? What do you get? And 5, 60 minus D, I'll have to work that on the other page just to give me some room. By the way, what exactly are they looking for? Dimes, good. And feel free to highlight, underline, shade, circle, whatever you need to do to make this easy for you. So I know the value of dimes. The value of dimes is 10D. I know the value of nickels. The value of nickels is 5, 60 minus D. And I know the total value is 480. What do I do with all that data? What must my equation look like, Miss Cat?
You have 10D
Uh-huh.
plus 5
Mm-hmm.
times 60 minus D.
Yep, and I know you could solve that already, but I'm just keeping it so that it's outlined. And that equals?
480.
Good. Keep going, folks. Let's see what we get. Okay, collecting our like terms, we're collecting our D's. This is positive, this is negative. So it's like saying 10 minus 5. 10 minus 5 is a positive 5D. So far, so good? If you subtract 300, what do you get? 180, did you say? 36? So we want to know what D is, and we do. Dimes is 36. How many nickels are there then? 24. If I asked, you would be able to tell me. But it doesn't, so don't worry about it. Okay. We're going to do number 5. Number 5 is a little tricky. So you're going to do 4 on your own. 5. Henry paid 80 cents for a bag of peanuts. He sold all but 20 of them for $1.50 and made a profit of $54. How many bags did he buy? Okay. He bought B bags. By the way, what did he pay for each one? 80 cents. Okay, we're going to have to use a decimal here because 54 would have to be 5,400 if we don't use this decimal. So let's just make it a decimal. Oops, lost my place there for a minute. And the product of that cost is going to be 80 hundredths B. How many did he sell? If he bought B, which is whatever the amount is, and sold everything but 20, based off of B, how can I explain that? Bingo. He sold all but not 20. Very good. He sold everything he sold except for those 20 that are still laying around. How many bags did he buy? Oh wait, for $1.50. So each bag was sold for $1.50. So the cost for the selling of the product is 1.5 multiplied by B minus 20. And he had a profit of $54. And they want to know how many bags were bought, which is this data right here. Okay, hint. Profit is equal to selling price minus buying price. This right here is selling price. This is the cost of buying those. So we can work that out like this. Selling price 1.5 B minus 20 minus buying price. Will give us our profit. Do they tell us what our profit is? Yep. We now have an equation that will allow us to solve. Start distributing and you end up with 1.5 B minus 30 minus 0.80 B will give us 54. Did I work all that right? I think so. The sum of our B's, what is 1.5 B combined with a negative 8/10 B? 1.5. Thank you. Positive 0.7 B. 1.5 negative 8/10 is 7/10 is 54. So far so good? Add 30 and you get 7/10 B is 84. Divide by 7/10. What do you get? How much? Yep. After you divide, you end up with 120, which means he bought 120. If I asked, could you tell me how many sold? How many did he sell? He beat 100. Very good. Same thing in number 6. Okay, I'm going to let you do 4, 6, 7, and 8 on your own.